So Sarah Walsh, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. Your story and your journey is such a remarkable one. But I do want to start there really, because as I said, it has been pretty multifaceted, from getting started in football to ending up in the Matildas to now your current role as the head of women's football, Women's World Cup legacy and inclusion at Football Australia. How did it all unfold?
Yeah, well, I think if you look at it like that, there's obviously been a common theme around football, but I guess I think I've always, I probably didn't see myself or view myself as a bit of a change agent. But if I look back at my career, whether it was, starting out playing at 5, being the only girl in a football club, not just in my team, moving into, all boys rep teams, and then, finally making my way to the Matildas for over 10 years. I've always kind of, wanted things to be better. And, I find myself in this role now where I'm able to affect change probably in the heart of it, right at the national body. And, there's a lot of change happening in our sport and across sport more broadly. And, I've got to say it's pretty fun to be in the heart of that change with the Women's World Cup coming up. It's our biggest opportunity to really shake things up.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll get more to the World Cup, which everyone is anticipating so much at the moment. But I wanted to go to the point around, your advocacy and the fact that there is this moment in women's football at the moment, and it has definitely garnered huge support in recent years. But in the 90s, it wasn't really the case when you were getting started. Can you share a bit more about how you pushed to be visible and taken seriously during a climate in which it was pretty hard to be?
Yeah, I think, look, I do look back at, I've learnt so much since my playing days. As a player, you get this unique kind of opportunity to really, you're an individual contributor, right? And yes, you play in a team, but ultimately, day in, day out, you're thinking about what it is you need to do to be able to contribute to a broader collective vision, which is, winning, whether it be through a club or a national team. And you're very process driven because, you got 7 days before a match and it's one foot in front of the other. And, how do I build on my strengths? And I think being a former player and having spent a large majority of my career in the high performance environment, I've been able to take away those learnings around, high performing teams, understanding how to work under pressure, to problem solve. Aside from all the really great things that sport bring around commitment, dedication, and resilience, which I've got a bit of a view on now around resilience. So I've been able to take all these learnings and kind of stay the course in what is long term change for sport and women in sport, and always trying to, I guess, create better structures, whether it be through governance programs, and thinking about how to get there. But I think one of the key learnings from my time as in high performance is, you need to bring people on the journey. You're in a team environment, and what that looks like for me right now is working with our football ecosystem. We have 2,500 community clubs, so I do think there's threads of learnings, and evolution of my journey is better understanding not only the barriers to entry for women in sport, but also, starting to think, through innovation, how we actually start to solve for that. How do we move past talking about the barriers? And I do think my journey has kind of helped me in a way, because I always have a player-centric lens, and always thinking about the person through all business decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to go quickly to the point you made around, you mentioned having a view around resilience and how that's evolved over time. And certainly courage and resilience are crucial qualities for any athlete, and particularly women. Can you share a specific moment or challenge in your career where you had to draw on those qualities? What is your most vivid "it took boobs" moment?
I actually think I can't think of one moment. There's been plenty of moments. These I guess the microaggressions you would call in sport, where you come up against whether it's a particular bias around women's role, or when I was a player, what that meant was being on the Players Association and the Players Executive I think that's my furthest, memory back is, just standing up for wanting more than a per diem and starting to think a lot more critically about, you know, what it is that the women deserved and thinking critically about what the men were getting for doing the same role. And, I always just had a thirst for learning, and I think that that's been key, always looking to evolve and looking to better understand, what it is within the system that's creating barriers. And as a player, I was someone that asked a lot of questions, and I can imagine for the federation at the time was very annoying. So it's interesting to come full circle now. I'm at the federation who is making these decisions, working with the Players Association and the players, and I think that's given me a unique understanding, for where the players are coming from, particularly the women's players, and wanting to always, further the game, but not in the way in which it was designed for men, in a new and different way. And I've got plenty of examples around, what that looks like today. So it's, I don't know if that answered your question, but I have plenty of boobs moments, not with the lens that I was a woman affecting the change. It was just, I happened to be a woman that was, benefited from that change.
Yeah, yeah. You did mention, the barriers to entry for women in football, and then you talked a bit about the innovation, and that aspect of bringing innovation into the game to enact change. As a leader in women's football, what initiatives have you spearheaded to promote gender equality and inclusion within the sport, and what impact have you seen so far with that?
Yeah, there's a number of different initiatives. I think, given it, we're the national body, we obviously regulate football here in the country, and in a lot of ways that can mean national teams. It can also mean grassroots. And the APL, although it's unbundled now, we're still a regulator thinking about how the professional game can contribute to the overall football ecosystem here, but also globally. So. If we're talking about the Matildas, I work with an amazing team at Football Australia, whether it's in our legal department, in our commercial department. And so a lot of what I do is working across function to make sure that we're designing and creating programs and policy education that's fit for purpose today for women, for all types of women. I know we're going to talk about that today. Intersectionality is crucial. But as an example, we have our parental policy for the Matildas. And for anyone that's seen the Disney doco, I've got to say it really brings focus to the impact of the policy we develop in the office, right? It now makes sure that a parental policy that's fit for purpose for a woman working in our office is not fit for purpose for an athlete that's re-entering the sporting pitch. And so there's many different parts to it. There's, pre-pregnancy, during pregnancy, and post-pregnancy coming back into football. And there's a number of different mechanisms within that, not only support them financially, but, how do we have to rethink the high-performance environment to better include a carer, to account for breastfeeding, to account for the greater support that player would need. And then also thinking about parents and women who actually didn't carry, but also, thinking about what that looks like for a secondary. So we actually have two of those players in our team at the moment. And, ironically, through this policy, our high performance environment has been enhanced, and our coach talks about that actually. Because they can be quite intense environments, and particularly in tournament mode. And having a child around really brings perspective and allows players to switch in and out of that performance mindset, because a lot of players actually need that and might not know they need it. But having a child around really brings good perspective and, relaxes players when it's not time for performance. So there's a lot of different really great things about it. And we have a number of different programs within the community that we've been working on to make sure that we're giving our community clubs the tools. For a long time, we talk about things at the national level, but our clubs are volunteers. They're supporting community clubs. And a lot of these community clubs have great and committed people, but they actually just need the tools to be able to either grow their women's participation, women and girls, but also retain. I think one of our challenges is, like all other sports, is retention.
Yeah.
We have no issue in attracting women and girls, but, through work we've done around our community facilities audit, we're finding out that our infrastructure isn't fit for purpose. So
Yeah.
this work we've done over the last 3 years has really given us critical insights into what needs to change
Yeah.
and what investment we need to be able to fix it.